All right, we have a special call-in. Give us a call, 303-771-HELP, 303-771-4357. Sisun and Scriven, attorneys at law, and they do personal injury law. So let's talk about personal injury. I have Bradley Scriven with me right now, and we're going to talk about some of the common questions, problems that come up. Bradley, one of the things that we talked about, recorded statements, they call you a couple days after an accident. And really, they say, oh, now, could you have avoided it, you think? What, how far were you? How do you feel? How are things? I hope you're doing all right. Oh, yeah, I'm doing fine. They can trick you, and that's what they do.
Absolutely, and they come back to bite you every day. Every time I have a case where a client comes in after the fact and they tell me they've given a recorded statement already, I know that we've got a tougher road to go down this time.
Okay, so let's talk about what do you recommend?
Well, as a general rule, I try not to give them anything.
Right.
But
you don't have to. You're not required to.
You're not required to, but insurance companies do have a duty to investigate, and that's fair. And as a consequence, what I recommend to my clients in the insurance company is they give us something in writing saying specifically what they want, and then we respond in writing. That way we've had an opportunity to look at it, think about it, and phrase it the way it needs to be phrased.
Exactly. Another question I get. How much, and I don't mean that people are looking for money, but money is the only way we have to reward ourselves if we are injured for the rest of our lives or damaged. Right. How much is my injury worth? My pain, my suffering, my wages? I mean, how do you value a loss?
That is the most common question we receive in an initial consultation. And my stock answer to that, Tom, is I don't know yet.
Right.
Honestly, the way cases are evaluated is threefold, and with liability not being an issue.
Right. Let's say it's the other guy's fault and we know it.
That's clear. When that's the case, we have three things that we have to take into consideration. The first is economic damages, and the way I explain that is things that are coming out of your pocket because of the accident or things that aren't coming into your pocket because of the accident.
Like lack of pay.
Lost wages, medical expenses, where you have to pay for services around the home.
Yeah, you can't mow your lawn anymore.
Exactly. That would categorize economic.
Economic. Okay, what else?
And then the next category is non-economic damages. And I kind of describe those as all the things that we know we experience: pain, suffering, inconvenience, loss of enjoyment of life.
How do you put a price on loss or that kind of loss, that pain and suffering?
The way that we do it is based on years of experience and really the nature of the pain in terms of how we can quantify it. And but what I mean by that, is the pain a permanent thing?
Right.
Is the pain something that's affecting my activities of daily living?
Yes.
Obviously, the more hurtful it is to the patient or the client, the more it's worth. But to give you, there's no chart out there where I can say, okay, they have $10,000 in bills and they had 6 months of pain and suffering. As a consequence, it's worth this amount.
Right.
Based on years of experience trying a lot of cases and settling a lot of cases, there are reasonable ranges where cases tend to settle, and that's where we try to push our cases, and obviously to the higher end of that.
Okay, so what else then? Pain and suffering, loss, economic, what else?
And then the last category of damages was what we call permanent impairment. That's if, in fact, you've suffered a permanent injury as a result of this loss. Common things are scarring. If you've been scarred or disfigured, that would constitute permanent injury. If you've had instrumentation put into your body from a surgery, pins, rods, things of that nature, or the fact that you're just going to have permanent pain or limitations. Everybody's experienced the back pain when the weather changes.
And that's different than pain and suffering. That is an actual impairment.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, next question, punitive. So many people want to punish the other guy for hurting them. Is there such a thing as an egregious act where you can get a punitive damage?
Colorado
or is that just movies?
No. Colorado does recognize exemplary damages, but they're not easy to get.
Can you give me an example of what would be one of those?
In a car accident, the most common situation that you see it is when the individual causes the accident is drunk.
Or raging, maybe? Could that be a
punitive? Road rage would be another thing that you might be able to argue punitive damages.
Okay.
But you can't even bring a claim for punitive damages until after a limited amount of discovery has been done in a lawsuit to make sure that there's a justifiable case there.
There are so many questions when it comes to personal injury. That's why we want people to call in. So I'm going to do a few others. How do you get paid? Everyone wants to know, how do attorneys get paid with a personal injury?
As a general rule, it's done on a contingency basis, meaning if
You don't get paid.
we don't get anything unless you get something.
And you get the minority of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I want people to know that, because some people say, well, I'll end up with nothing.
Oh, no, that's never the case. I mean, we work for you, and as a consequence, we do it, hopefully so that you're compensated
Right.
for what you've had to go
And
through.
some people don't even know they have a claim. Traffic accidents, there would be a claim if if it was somebody else's fault. Slipping and falling, is it always a case, or not?
Not always. It really depends.
Okay.
There's
at
actually,
a store, at a house, whatever.
There's a statute on that, and
Right.
it depends on how this event occurred.
So, but it's good to call for that, because they'd be happy to answer your question. And then you have, of course, you have product liability, a product explodes or something, medical malpractice.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you have any questions, here's the number. By the way, when they're not here, let's talk about the call center then. 303-771-HELP, 771-4357. And they'll be there for another half hour at least. 303-771-4357. Now, you can reach them at their office when they're not here. And here's the number, 303-377-8861. That's 377-8861. Now, pay careful attention to the website. It's Sisun-Scriven, Sisun-Scriven.com on the web. And, of course, the number again, 303-377-8861.